Well, hello everybody, and welcome back to the Hilltop Pillbox here in Abbotsford, British Columbia, Canada. And here at the start of round 6, I'm adding up the units that are in Moscow versus the Germans that can hit them. And we have 55 units plus the bunker. So that'll be 57 dice on round 1. Most of them are going to be 5s or less. And the Germans on round 1, everything will be lower, but they can hit with about 60 units, a little over 60 units. Is that worth taking a shot? I don't know, because we've got the follow-up, right? We got some Italians, we got the follow-up. The Soviets will be able to build 10 more in there, plus they can bring over 3. These are tank destroyers, which can come in handy. Leningrad will likely fall this turn to the Germans. So I'm wondering if this is a good time to hit it, or should I just have the Soviets suffer a death of 1,000 cuts and get them really down on their economic knees, as it were. So stay tuned. You'll find out. Well, here is the Deadpool from the massive attack on the C-Zone. Yes, I did not attack Moscow. That's the results of the C-Zone attack, though. I lost a fighter, all the subs, my capital ship, my cruiser, everything. But the British and the Soviets and the Canadians lost everything as well, plus a Spitfire. So we both traded, and that's fine. Now, my subs hit really well on the first round, which is very telling in this game. I think out of 8, I got 5 or 6 hits, which took out their corvettes. So, they're going to have to start to rebuild. But now there is no more sub menace. Now, up here you can see that all this went very well for the Germans, and we actually went over to Voronezh, and took that. But we did not attack Moscow proper because, well, I think that would have just been a fool's errand. But now what I've done is I've placed a few units here within striking distance of the massive stacks here. I just don't see them attacking. Of course, I'm playing the game, so maybe I will, but I don't think that would be a wise move. Adding another 10 units and bringing this buddy home might be the move to make. So that would be an 11 more units, and we'll see if they can hold on next round. Now, if you're watching this on Triple Crown's channel, and you should definitely be watching it. I thought he wasn't going to have any time to play. He was having some things to do with his family, and said that he didn't have the time to do this, but now he's posting videos of the game, but he's continuing to play it from his perspective. And so he's got a massive stack of Soviet equipment here. He even built a factory there last turn. Now, I've done that with the Soviets, and it's failed because they just go around, and at some point you just got to pull everything back in anyway. But it's a good stack. He might be able to strike out and find some success. We'll see. All right, off to Japan. We'll see what they can do. Well, there we have it, the end of round 6. And you can see by the board that the Axis, especially the Japanese, are taking off. In fact, their high water mark was 95. Likely not going to go too much above that, because some things are happening. We're going to start in the Pacific, and yes, ladies and gentlemen, the Americans have sortied their entire Pacific fleet out here and took the Marshall Islands. And now, of course, they can hop into the Caroline from there and certainly head back and liberate the Philippines. So instantly there is a problem for the Japanese. The American Air Force, of course, is here as well. So they got some real power here, and that's a problem. To say nothing of the Anzac fleet, which is a good deal larger. They've got 3 cruisers, they've got 6 destroyers, and an escort carrier, plus 3 transports to make a nuisance of themselves. Well, the Japanese did take all the money islands, succeeded in taking Singapore, and actually took Burma for a brief moment, just with 1 infantry remaining. And that was quickly dispatched by the FEC Expeditionary Force. Now this here would be a very interesting fight. Now, you also see that the interior of China is wide open to the FEC, and this stack is just too big for the Japanese to deal with right now. So the Chinese could become a little resurgent here. They might have a chance if these tanks decide to go for a spin around. How long they last, though, might not make much of a difference. The nationalist Chinese are holed up in the mountains up here in the top, trying to keep as many Japanese away from Novosibirsk as possible. And there you have it. Oh, I mentioned this in the video. I am going to do that because there's no sense in trying to defend that over there. And you can see how the Japanese have scooped up everything. Oh, and added 4 subs and a cruiser and a destroyer to the home fleet. But you can see there's not much purpose in hanging on to Novosibirsk when this is what's going on here. Now, of course, the Germans did not do the attack on Moscow last round, and you can see that big stack of infantry. But the Germans and the Italians together here outnumber the Russians by about 10 units right now. So it's only going to get worse for the Soviets. There's only 6 infantry being built next turn. So that's likely, I don't know if I'll attack next turn, but if I don't attack Moscow, definitely have to attack Stalingrad. And you can see the Italians here are headed south, heading down the Caucasus and into Iran. That is their goal, which will put some pressure on the British. Now, the British had a little fleet here. They had a destroyer and 2 transports. Where did they go? Well, the naval air power of the Japanese was able to dispatch them. Now, there's no men for the transport, so they are no danger at all to taking any land right now. They all died in the South African excursion. But having any boats in the water right now for the British can be problematic. So the British focused elsewhere, and we're going to tell you, the theaters of war shifted in this game. Now the Italians are sensing a little bit of an opportunity here. So built a couple destroyers and a sub. Now we have 2 bombers, a tactical and a fighter, and an escort carrier that could hit that and likely destroy everything but the sub, because you can't see the sub. But there are 3 fighters that can scramble. So not really sure they want to do that. But if the British put anything in the water, these carriers will make short work of it. Now that's good for the Italians, but the Japanese are essentially going to be stranding a couple of loaded, well, a decent fleet here, because they can't just leave the carriers, because then the British will definitely bombard it. Over here we left the Vichy alone. Just felt like the French needed to come back this way, possibly if the Italians were becoming a bit resurgent. I kind of saw it on the British UK turn that they might be starting to get stronger. Over here, the Americans put all their money here into the Atlantic. And this is what $103 looks like, plus 1 more transport and a man and a couple of men in artillery, or a few men in artillery. Anyway, there's a lot of money there. And as you can see, 1, 2, 3, they can actually hit the coast right off the bat. And the British built a fleet, and the Canadians brought their little addition over. So now Western Europe is under real threat. This sea zone is going to be highly contested. Now this next turn, the Germans can then go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then land their bombers there. But the fighters can't make it. So there are no fighters. It's just tacticals. And, oh, there's a couple of fighters, I guess, in there. But the other German fighters are over here from the tilt last turn. But this is what we're looking at, folks. This is that first round will really depend. Will that fortification pay off? And will I even attack it? I just don't think there's a real necessity to attack it right now. You can see the follow-up is there. Built 10 units there, plus the Romanians got their tank. So I built 3 more here. So I built 13 units, but granted, none of these can get to Moscow in one turn. But we also got about 13, 14 units up here, plus the air power. So things are looking a little bleak for the Soviets. And now with the Italians climbing back into the Navy game, not really sure what's going to happen. I think the Allies had better start landing right away in the Normandy, Bordeaux area and start to cause as much grief as possible to the Germans. There is nothing for it now. Can't mess around. Can't fart around, as many of my relatives will say. So, that's it, folks. Stalingrad, a small yet determined group holding on. Moscow, everybody's out there digging anti-tank ditches. Novosibirsk has been shelved, has been burned, has been scorched. And as the Japanese continue their inexorable, I've heard it both ways, march westwards. Will they actually put any sort of heat on Moscow? I think it'll probably be over by then. Either the Moscow will hold and have all the help it needs, or it will have fallen. But the Japanese cannot ignore this. We've got 6 transports worth of stuff, minus 1 guy, because of course the SNLF that was defending the marshals got a hit. But that's a decent force there. And you've got 4 boats that take double hits. And then there's 4 cruisers and 3 destroyers and a torpedo boat destroyer just for good measure. Plus we've got some decent air power here with some decent legs to cause any Japanese forays into the Pacific a little bit of grief. Granted, the Japanese did collect $100 this last round, almost equaling the Americans' $103. And although there's not a lot left for the Japanese to take, and there is now stuff for the Japanese to lose, likely lose the Carolines next turn, maybe Palau, maybe even the Philippines. We shall see. Probably not. This big Japanese fleet can reach the Philippines, any spot around the Philippines, and that, and also with this stuff that can all hit the Philippines. Probably wouldn't be a good idea for the Americans to go there just yet. But I am trying to draw Japanese attention away, and I'm trying to put a lot of pressure here with FEC. And if Japan does not bulk up Siam sufficiently, there's a good chance it'll fall next round. And they could lose some irreplaceable veteran fighters while they're at it. Time will tell, folks. Thanks for watching. This is turn 6. Hopefully turn 7 tomorrow. Not sure if I can get to it, but I will try. Thanks for watching, folks. Take care. Hug your loved ones. And I forgot the dice again, so I'll just look at Moscow and say, hey, may the dice be with somebody here.